Many people wonder why certain individuals enter their lives only after long periods of waiting, heartbreak, or personal struggle. The reality is that Allah does not bring the right person into your life randomly or prematurely. Every meeting, every delay, and every moment of loneliness carries wisdom that may not be visible immediately. Human beings often measure time through emotions and desires, but Allah measures readiness through growth, patience, and spiritual development. What feels like waiting is often a period of preparation where Allah shapes your character, heals your wounds, and strengthens your faith so that when the right person arrives, you are capable of nurturing something pure and lasting. Sometimes a person asks Allah repeatedly for companionship, wondering why others seem to find love easily while their own path feels empty. Yet during this time, Allah may be protecting them from relationships that would have caused harm, distraction, or emotional damage. A person who enters your life too early might become a test rather than a blessing. Timing matters because hearts need maturity, intentions need sincerity, and life circumstances must align in ways only Allah understands. The right person is not only someone you desire, but someone who arrives when both souls are ready to grow together rather than complete each other out of desperation. Allah's timing often works silently. You may focus on career struggles, personal healing, or strengthening your connection with faith without realizing that these stages are building the foundation for future companionship. Perhaps you learn patience after disappointment, self-respect after betrayal, or reliance upon Allah after feeling alone. These lessons transform you into someone capable of recognizing genuine love instead of temporary attachment. Without this preparation, even the right person could be misunderstood or unappreciated. Many people chase relationships out of fear of loneliness, but Allah, if it is, teaches that fulfillment comes first through Him. When your heart becomes attached to Allah rather than to human validation, your expectations change. You begin to seek character over appearance, faith over excitement, and peace over intensity. At this stage, Allah introduces people who align with your values because your priorities have shifted toward what truly matters. The meeting then feels natural rather than forced, as if both journeys were quietly moving toward the same destination all along. Delays also teach emotional independence. When a person spends time alone, they discover their own strengths, weaknesses, and purpose. They learn to stand without relying on another human being for identity or happiness. This independence prevents unhealthy attachment and allows love to grow from mutual respect instead of emotional neediness. Allah's wisdom ensures that when the right person comes, the relationship becomes a partnership of two whole individuals supporting each other rather. Two incomplete souls searching for rescue. Often, people look back years later and realize that earlier relationships ended because they were not aligned with Allah's plan. What once felt like rejection becomes understood as protection. Situations that seem painful were actually redirections towards something better. Allah sees conversations never spoken, intentions never revealed, and futures that would have unfolded differently if events had occurred sooner. His timing prevents regret before it even exists. When Allah finally brings the right person into your life, there is a sense of calm acceptance rather than overwhelming chaos. The connection grows with respect, understanding, and shared purpose because both individuals have been shaped by their separate journeys. The waiting period then transforms into gratitude because every moment of patience carried meaning that prepared the heart for something sincere, balanced, and blessed by divine wisdom when a relationship is truly guided by Allah. It does not feel like a constant battle of confusion, insecurity, or emotional instability. Instead, it brings a sense of calmness that settles deep within the heart. Halal relationships are not built on secrecy, manipulation, or temporary excitement. They are built on respect, honesty, and the awareness that Allah is always watching. This awareness alone changes how two people behave with each other. There is a natural sense of responsibility because both understand that their connection is not just between two individuals, but within the boundaries set by their Creator. In many modern relationships, people often experience anxiety, overthinking, and emotional exhaustion because there is no clear foundation. Words may be spoken, promises may be made, but without sincerity and purpose, the heart remains unsettled. However, when a connection is pure and aligned with Islamic principles, clarity replaces confusion. There is no constant guessing of intentions, no fear of being replaced, and no emotional games that drain mental peace. Instead, communication becomes straightforward, intentions are clear, and both individuals feel secure in what is being built. Peace is one of the strongest signs that something is blessed. When Allah places barakah in a relationship, even simple interactions feel meaningful. There is comfort in silence and understanding in small gestures. The heart does not feel restless or constantly worried about the future. Instead, it feels grounded, as if Allah Himself is protecting the bond from unnecessary harm. This kind of peace cannot be manufactured through effort alone. It is something that Allah places in hearts when sincerity exists between two people. Another important aspect of halal relationships is emotional stability. In unhealthy connections, emotions often swing between extreme highs and lows, creating attachment that is based more on fear than love. But when Allah is at the center, emotions become balanced. Love does not feel like obsession, and care does not turn into dependency. Instead, both individuals grow emotionally mature, learning how to support each other without losing their own identity or peace of mind. This balance prevents toxic behavior and encourages mutual respect. Respect also becomes a natural outcome of a halal connection. There is awareness of boundaries, dignity, and self-worth. Neither person feels the need to compromise their values just to maintain attention or approval. Instead, they honor each other's limits and prioritize what is pleasing to Allah over temporary desires. This respect strengthens the bond because it removes pressure and replaces it with trust. When trust is present, there is no constant fear of betrayal or dishonesty. Another hidden beauty of a halal relationship is the absence of unnecessary stress. Many relationships suffer because they are built on uncertainty, where one person is always questioning where they stand. But when Allah's guidance is followed, there is direction and purpose. Both individuals understand that if something is meant for them, Allah will make it easy. And if it is not, Allah will remove it gently. This belief alone removes desperation and allows the relationship to flow naturally without force. Even challenges in such relationships feel different. Instead of breaking the bond, difficulties become opportunities for growth. Both individuals turn back to patience, prayer, and reflection rather than impulsive reactions. This creates emotional resilience, where problems are handled with maturity instead of chaos. Over time, this strengthens the connection because it is not built on perfection but on shared faith and effort. In the presence of sincerity, Allah replaces confusion with clarity, anxiety with peace, and emotional instability with reassurance that what is built within His boundaries carries a softness that the heart recognizes even in silence when Allah places something in your life that is meant. If it is for you, the path toward it begins to open in ways that feel surprisingly smooth and natural. This ease is not always about the absence of challenges, but rather about the removal of unnecessary barriers that would have made the journey harmful, confusing, or misaligned. Sometimes people assume that difficulty automatically means something is not meant for them. But in reality, the right things still require effort, patience, and growth. The difference is that Allah removes the obstacles that would have led to regret, while allowing the process to unfold in a way that preserves dignity, faith, and emotional balance. When a connection or relationship is written for someone, events begin to align in a way that feels guided rather than forced. Conversations happen at the right time, opportunities appear naturally, and misunderstandings reduce without unnecessary struggle. Even if there are delays, they carry meaning rather than chaos. The heart may experience waiting but not destruction. It may experience longing but not confusion that destroys peace completely. This subtle difference is what makes divine ease recognizable to those who reflect deeply. Ease from Allah is also seen in how hearts respond internally. When something is not meant, the heart feels constant unrest, hesitation, or inner conflict, even if everything appears perfect on the surface. But when Allah intends good for two people, He places comfort in their hearts about each other. This comfort does not mean perfection or absence of flaws. It means acceptance and a sense of direction that feels aligned with truth. The heart does not feel forced into attachment. Instead, it gradually leans toward what is natural and balanced. Another sign of divine ease is how external circumstances begin to cooperate without excessive struggle. Families may become more understanding. Situations that once seemed complicated start to simplify, and paths that were blocked begin to open gradually. This does not mean everything becomes effortless overnight, but rather that the journey no longer feels impossible or destructive. There is a flow in events that suggests a higher wisdom is arranging things beyond human planning. Allah's ease also protects people from situations that would have brought emotional damage or spiritual distance. Sometimes what appears as a delay or a closed door is actually a form of mercy. A person may not understand why something did not work out at a certain time, only to realize later that it saved them from heartbreak, loss of self-worth, or a future filled with imbalance. What is meant for someone will return in a way that preserves their well-being, while what is not meant will naturally fade away, regardless of desire. In relationships, ease is not about everything always being perfect or without disagreement. It is about the presence of understanding, forgiveness, and mutual effort without constant emotional exhaustion. When two people are meant for each other, they find ways to resolve differences without ego taking over. Communication becomes smoother, and intentions remain clearer even during difficult moments. There is a shared sense of wanting to move forward together rather than pulling away during challenges. True divine ease also reduces desperation. A person no longer feels the need to chase something that is written for them. Instead, they begin to trust that what belongs to them will not require humiliation or constant struggle. This trust itself brings peace to the heart and removes unnecessary anxiety. Instead of forcing outcomes, they learn to align their efforts with patience and prayer. Understanding that timing is part of Allah's wisdom, when ease from Allah is present, even the journey of waiting carries softness, and the heart begins to recognize that what is unfolding is not random but carefully designed with protection and purpose intertwined within every step one of the deepest foundations of any meaningful relationship is shared faith. Because when two people believe in Allah and try to live according to His guidance, their connection naturally gains direction, purpose, and stability. Compatibility is often misunderstood as simply having similar interests, lifestyles, or personalities, but real compatibility goes far beyond surface level similarities. It is about two hearts aligning in their understanding of life, their priorities, and their accountability to Allah. When Iman becomes the center of a relationship, everything else begins to fall into place in a more meaningful and balanced way. Shared faith creates a natural bond that is not easily shaken by temporary emotions or external pressures. When both individuals are aware that Allah is watching their actions, their words carry more sincerity and their intentions become more refined. They begin to think not only about what pleases themselves, but also about what pleases Allah. This awareness transforms how they treat each other, replacing selfish behavior with responsibility and replacing impatience with understanding. Even in moments of disagreement, the presence of faith encourages patience rather than ego-driven reactions. A relationship grounded in Iman also builds emotional stability. In many connections that lack spiritual grounding, emotions often fluctuate based on circumstances, attention, or personal desires. But when both individuals are connected to Allah, then they are both on the path to salvation. Their emotional responses become more balanced because their hearts are anchored in something greater than the relationship itself. They understand that love is not just about intense feelings, but about commitment, mercy, and shared purpose. This understanding prevents the relationship from becoming chaotic or dependent solely on emotional highs. Shared faith also strengthens communication. When two people value honesty for the sake of Allah, they are more likely to speak truthfully even when it is difficult. They avoid deception, manipulation, and hidden intentions because they recognize that accountability does not end at worldly consequences. This creates a safe space where both individuals can express themselves openly without fear of being judged unfairly or misunderstood intentionally. Communication becomes a tool for growth rather than conflict. Another important aspect of compatibility through Iman is mutual encouragement toward good. Instead of pulling each other toward distraction or negligence, both individuals encourage salah, patience, gratitude, and self-improvement. They remind each other of Allah in subtle and respectful ways, helping each other stay connected to their purpose. This kind of companionship becomes a source of strength rather than a distraction from spiritual growth. Even small actions like reminding each other to be patient or to trust Allah in difficult moments deepen the bond significantly. Shared faith also reduces unnecessary expectations. When two people understand that Allah is the ultimate provider and controller of outcomes, they place less pressure on each other to fulfill emotional voids. Instead of expecting perfection from a human being, they learn to appreciate effort and sincerity. This reduces disappointment and increases gratitude, allowing the relationship to grow in a healthier and more realistic way. Expectations become balanced and acceptance becomes more natural. A relationship built on Iman also carries a sense of long-term vision. It is not driven solely by temporary attraction or emotional excitement, but by the intention of building a life that is pleasing to Allah. This long-term perspective helps both individuals make better decisions, avoid impulsive actions, and stay committed during difficult phases. They begin to see challenges not as reasons to give up, but as opportunities to strengthen patience and trust in Allah's wisdom. When faith is shared, even ordinary moments become meaningful. Simple conversations, daily routines, and small acts of care carry spiritual weight because they are done with the awareness of Allah. This transforms the relationship from something purely emotional into something deeply purposeful, where both individuals feel that their connection is not only about companionship in this world, but also about supporting each other towards success in the hereafter. Patience in matters of the heart is one of the most difficult forms of patience, especially when a person feels strongly attached to someone or deeply desires companionship. Yet, Allah repeatedly teaches that what is delayed is not denied, and what is removed is not always a loss. Patience in this context is not passive waiting. It is an active form of trust where a person continues to believe in Allah's wisdom even when emotions feel overwhelming. When someone learns to wait without panic, complain, or despair, they begin to protect themselves from decisions that could lead to long-term regret. Often people mistake delay for rejection, but if it is reality, Allah uses time as a tool for protection and preparation. A person may not realize that what they are asking for is not yet suitable for their current emotional, spiritual, or practical state. If something arrives too early, it may not be appreciated correctly or may even become harmful. Patience ensures that when something is eventually given, it arrives in a form that is more beneficial and stable. This understanding transforms waiting from frustration into quiet acceptance of divine timing. Patience also strengthens emotional maturity. Without it, a person may become impulsive, chasing validation or forcing outcomes just to avoid loneliness. This often leads to emotional dependency, where happiness becomes tied to another human being rather than anchored in Allah. But when patience is practiced sincerely, a person learns to sit with their emotions without being controlled by them. They begin to understand their feelings rather than being ruled by them. And this awareness creates inner strength that prevents unhealthy attachment. Another important aspect of patience is that it protects the heart from unnecessary harm. Not every desire is meant to be fulfilled immediately, and not every connection is meant to continue. Sometimes Allah removes people or delays outcomes to save a person from emotional pain, betrayal, or loss of dignity. At the moment, it may feel like rejection, but later it becomes clear that it was a form of mercy. Patience allows a person to survive these moments without losing faith or self-worth. In the process of waiting, Allah also replaces attachment to specific outcomes with trust in His overall plan. A person may begin by wanting something very specific, but over time, patience softens the heart and shifts focus from this exact person or situation to whatever Allah chooses for me is best. This shift is powerful because it removes desperation and replaces it with peace. Instead of clinging tightly to one possibility, the heart becomes open to what is better, even if it was not originally imagined. Patience also brings clarity. When emotions are intense, judgment can become clouded, leading a person to overlook red flags or ignore important truths. But with time and patience, the emotional intensity reduces, allowing clearer thinking. A person begins to see situations more objectively rather than through the lens of desire. This clarity often reveals wisdom that was hidden during emotional attachment. At the same time, patience is not about inaction or neglecting effort. It is about balancing action with trust. A person continues to make dua, continues to improve themselves, and continues to move forward in life while leaving the outcome to Allah. This balance prevents stagnation and keeps life productive, while the heart remains anchored in faith. Patience also deepens gratitude. When something finally arrives after a long period of waiting, its value is understood more deeply. The journey itself becomes meaningful because every delay, every silence, and every moment of uncertainty contributed to emotional growth. What was once seen as delay becomes recognized as preparation, and what was once felt as loss becomes understood as protection carefully woven into the timing of life itself. Trusting Allah's plan is one of the highest levels of faith, especially when emotions are involved and the heart is attached to outcomes that feel deeply personal. Human beings naturally want control over their lives, relationships, and future. But Allah repeatedly reminds that His knowledge is complete while human understanding is limited. There are moments in life when things do not happen the way a person expects, and in those moments, trust becomes the bridge between confusion and peace. Trusting Allah means accepting that even what feels painful, delayed, or unclear is part of a greater wisdom that cannot be fully seen in the present moment. Often, emotions create urgency. A person may feel strongly about someone or something and believe that happiness depends on that specific outcome. However, Allah knows what lies ahead, including consequences, hidden intentions, and future paths that are unknown to the individual. What a person desires may appear good in the moment, but Allah sees whether it will bring long-term benefit or harm. Trusting His plan means believing that if something is meant for you, it will not miss you. And if it is not meant, it is protection disguised as disappointment. One of the strongest aspects of trust in Allah is surrendering the need for constant control. When a person tries to control every detail of their emotional life, they often experience anxiety, overthinking, and frustration. But when they begin to place their trust in Allah, the heart slowly learns to release unnecessary pressure. This does not mean that emotions disappear, but rather that emotions no longer dominate decision making. Instead of reacting impulsively, a person begins to pause, if it is reflect, and rely on prayer and patience before moving forward. Trust also changes how a person views delays. What once felt like rejection begins to feel like redirection. A closed door is no longer seen as a loss, but as protection from something that may not have been suitable. Sometimes Allah delays giving something because the timing is not right, the environment is not ready, or the person themselves still needs growth. Trusting Allah allows a person to believe that delay is not denial, but preparation for something better aligned with their well-being.
Another important element of trust is emotional stability during uncertainty.
Life does not always provide clear answers, especially in matters of relationships and future planning. In such times, trust in Allah acts as an anchor that prevents the heart from falling into despair. Instead of assuming the worst, a person learns to say within themselves that Allah knows what is happening and His plan is better than my understanding. Mindset brings calmness even when external situations remain unresolved. Trust in Allah also reduces unhealthy attachment. When a person believes that their provision, relationships, and destiny are already written by Allah, they stop chasing outcomes in a desperate or humiliating way. They begin to act with dignity, effort, and patience while leaving results to Allah. This balance protects self-respect and prevents emotional dependence on people who are not meant to define one's happiness. At the same time, trust strengthens gratitude. When a person looks back at past experiences, they often realize that what they once wanted intensely was not actually beneficial for them. What was removed or delayed often turns out to have saved them from emotional pain or life complications. This realization builds stronger faith in Allah's wisdom and makes it easier to accept future outcomes without resistance. Trusting Allah's plan is not about ignoring emotions, but about placing them in the right order, where faith comes before fear and surrender replaces constant worry. It is a continuous process of learning to believe that every event, whether easy or difficult, is unfolding under divine knowledge that always carries purpose beyond human perception.